Welcome to Newsmax TV. I'm Kathleen Walter at the Republican National Convention in Tampa, Florida. With me now is former Ambassador John Bolton. Ambassador Bolton, thanks so much for being with us.
Glad to be with you.
Well, talk to me about Mitt Romney and the importance that he's placed on foreign policy in his campaign. Do you think that the GOP and Mitt Romney are downplaying the importance of foreign policy?
I don't really think they're downplaying it. I think obviously the economy is the most important issue, but critically, Governor Romney has made the connection between the importance of a strong American presence internationally and a sustained domestic economic recovery. You can't have the security and stability we provide in the world without a strong American economy. So these things are very closely related, and I think that's a point he's made already in his campaign.
Now, a UN Atomic Agency report is due out on Thursday or Friday. It's supposed to detail exactly where Iran is right now with its nuclear program. Based on what you know, where is Iran with its nuclear program, and just how real is the threat posed to Israel in the West?
Well, the report will show Iran making continuing progress installing new uranium enrichment cascades at the deeply buried facility at Fordo and a number of other advances that they've made. And I think the conclusion from that is that despite economic sanctions, despite political efforts by the Obama administration, that Iran continues to make steady progress toward that objective of nuclear weapons, so that the threat not only remains but is growing.
All right, now President Obama has tried sanctions and diplomacy with little success. In your view, how is he handling the Iranian nuclear threat, and is he making and basing foreign policy decisions on the election and on his campaign?
Well, I think he's run a 3.5-year campaign as opposed to governing, and I think his policy on the Iranian nuclear weapons front in particular has been a real failure. He's proceeded on the assumption that he could negotiate Iran out of its program. That was never going to happen. He's argued that he's isolated Iran internationally, but even as we speak, 120 countries of the non-aligned movement have elected Iran president for the next 3 years, and they're having a summit meeting in Tehran with 40 heads of state and the UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon. So this is another act of defiance by Iran and shows that our policy is failing.
Now, you said back in July that Israel should retaliate against Iran. Do you see Israel striking Iran, and if so, what's the timeline?
Well, I thought Iran the nuclear program should be disposed of long ago, because there's a lot we don't know about the program, a lot of information we don't have, and that can't be good news for the U.S., Israel, or the rest of the world. I think Israel will hold off until the very last minute, but I think ultimately its decision whether or when to strike Iran will be based on physics, not American politics. There's a lot of speculation that they might strike before our election. I don't pretend to have any inside information, but I think they'll wait until they don't think they can wait any longer. If that's before the election, fine. If that's after the election, fine, from their perspective.
Is an Israeli strike something that the U.S. would support, and could we soon find ourselves involved in yet another Mideast war?
Well, I've said for many years now that the U.S. should support Israel. This attack would be at the very outer limit of Israel's capacity. We obviously have a much greater capacity. I just can't underline enough how grave the risk is of Iran getting nuclear weapons, because it's not only the threat that Iran poses, it's the near certainty that other states in the region, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Turkey, and perhaps others, would get nuclear weapons as soon as they could after Iran. This is what proliferation is. That's the threat we face.
Let's turn to Syria for a second. Should the U.S. or the West be doing more to oust the Assad regime?
Well, I have nothing good to say about the Assad regime, but that doesn't mean that the replacement is necessarily going to be better. I think we've had a real failure by President Obama for 18 months. He's operated under the assumption that Russia shared our objective to get Assad out of power. That was never true. Russia has vetoed 3 Security Council sanctions resolutions against Assad, and they have a lot at stake, as does Iran, in keeping the Assad government in power. We have not identified over this 18-month period leaders among the opposition forces that we can really trust and have certainty will not themselves conduct a bloodbath in Syria if the Assad regime falls, not to mention what happens to Syria's very large stocks of chemical weapons.
All right, well, there's a new book written by a Navy SEAL who was present during the bin Laden raid. The author claims that the SEALs are very upset by the politicizing by Barack Obama of the raid. The book also alleges that the events that day differ from the Obama administration's accounts. Should President Obama apologize to the SEALs?
Well, I think he should apologize to the country for the campaign of leaks on national security information that we've seen out over the past several months. I've been in senior administration positions, I've been honored to serve the country in that capacity. I know a little bit about how leaks develop, and I can tell you these leaks are not coincidental, they're not accidental. The only conclusion you can draw is they're part of a White House campaign to give political advantage to the president. But they've revealed enormously sensitive information that I think compromises our troops, our intelligence capabilities, and for no good reason other than political aggrandizement.
Last question for you, Ambassador Bolton. How has the world's view of the United States changed in the last 3.5 years under Barack Obama? Do other nations have less respect for us, and do we therefore wield less power globally?
Well, I think the rest of the world, friend and foe alike, sees a weaker America, an America in retreat from its global responsibilities. You know, polls have been taken in countries around the world that show that America has less respect under Obama than it did under Bush. Remember, that was one of the claims that Obama made in 2008, that Bush had run down America's reputation. Even in countries where Obama's made a special effort, such as in Egypt, where he made a famous speech early in his administration about the U.S. and Islam, the U.S. has a lower favorability rating today than when George Bush left office. So I think what it proves is that America has to protect its interests in the world, and that it's better to be respected than to be loved.
As Chris Christie said the other day.
Exactly.
All right, Ambassador John Bolton, thanks so much for being with us.
Glad to be here.
And thank you for watching Newsmax TV.